Welcome to my thoughts on Runaways Season 2, Episode 7, Last Rites. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video B. There will be spoilers for the show leading up to and including this episode, possibly for other MCU and or adjacent stuff that had come out by the time this first premiered, not for anything that came out after. And yeah, I continue to love, it's almost all of the second season that I've loved. I guess more than half, huh? I am not 100% sure how there's 2 episodes left of the season, but I'm fascinated to find out. I don't know, I have an idea or two. Maybe I'll bring it up at some point in this video. Anyway, I wanted to make sure to start with some, YouTube video recommendations. So, Step Back's The Holy War Inside the Pentagon, Anthony Gramullia's Hyperborean Knowledge, why this YouTuber is starting a cult. Some more news. Oh, you think he was referring to you? Even more news. Let's see. And I also wanted to recommend Who's Afraid of Tracy Flick Election. And with that, I'm going to try to keep this more or less chronological. So yeah, I think the first thing we see is Alex with Jeffrey. And I couldn't help but notice that the vibe is definitely that of, like, he's being very hard on his father. And we can understand why, because he thinks it was his father who killed Darius, which is not 100% not the father's fault that he thinks that, concerning season 1. But the thing about, denying him food, I mean, I believe that qualifies as cruel and unusual punishment in, like legally speaking. If this was a legal, situation of him having imprisoned him or something. But also just great the way he's, Jeffrey points out, you're gonna feed me or untie me or what? And Alex says, I don't like either of those options. Maybe I'll just eat it myself, which I do appreciate. He technically didn't say, do you want to eat this? He asked, are you hungry? He wanted Jeffrey to say, yes, I'm dying to eat, so he can then say, well, that's too bad or something. And yeah, Jeffrey keeps it very vague, which we understand because he is, he doesn't want to tell his son that that's his son's mother, actually killed Darius, so yeah. And the way he phrases it is very unfortunate. He says something along the lines of when people don't follow the rules, bad things happen. And that, I'm almost 100% certain, sounds to Alex like Jeffrey is blaming Darius for, being killed, which, very unfortunate. I think the next thing is maybe the Pride meeting being interrupted. Let's see. Oh, and a fantastic tease at the very start, showing out-of-context clips from the climax of the episode. Very, very nicely done. Really had me hooked to see what would happen, and I absolutely did not guess the, yeah. And let's see. Yeah, so, Jonah says that it's okay for him to crash the meeting because it's about him, which in a lot of cases I feel would be fair. And let's see. Yeah, the thing with, Robert is, back, and yeah, he says he had to leave Digiphilia, digital Philadelphia, Digidelphia, sorry, digital Philadelphia. That's quite good. And the thing with, well, I healed you. So, I think you're actually, you came out on top here. That's a win for both of us, frankly. If anyone's keeping score, I did this, Yeah, you also kept him there longer than you had to because you wanted to control him, but okay. And I think that does bring us to the what's the other thing? He points out that Jeffrey must be with their kids, and comes around and says, that Jonah says that he did want to kill Jeffrey. And then we get this, completely, they're still doing, comic relief with the scientist couple. And, for these several episodes in a row now, I felt they did a good job of keeping it from just taking over. But yeah, the thing about Dale did not witness the birth of their daughter, administered the epidural to himself, and I think that does cover the right. So this episode, personally, I felt it stopped just short of crossing the line into excessive jokes about Gert's social justice, warriordom. Didn't love that some of them were when she wasn't even there to defend herself, but I don't know. Personally, I think it helps a lot that they were spread out over, so much of the episode. And let's see, I think that does pretty much, in case this is the first video you're watching, I agree with almost everything about Gert's politics, and I don't mind jokes about leftist politics. One of the things, in earlier episodes, I felt like there was too much of it, or it was just the kind of, boring of just like, oh, this person really cares about something, this kind of like centrist, American centrist kind of ridiculous, fence-sitting thing of like, oh, can you believe these people actually want to make the world a better place? I think the next thing is Carolina talking to Alex, and I don't know, I couldn't help but notice that the character who wants to save innocent people is, female, not male. And the first person to object is male. Anyway, let's see. Right, and actually, come to think of it, she goes to Gert first, and appeals to her conscience, and immediately that works. And then together they go to Alex. That's how it is. But yeah, the thing about the books, least to most moldy, and she will read the. I'm afraid I forget the author's name, but empowerment feminist literary works. She will read those even if it kills her, and then she catches a whiff, and she's like, and it actually might. And it is a really good point. Like, those aliens are not Jonah. Like, they're the same species, sure, but it's Jonah who's done terrible things. What have these aliens done at all? That is, and I'm looking forward to, that is obviously the fallout from, so by the end of this episode, it seems like Carolina is the last of that species on Earth. And that's going to be really fascinating to see play out. I guess it's not impossible that she's going to have, what was that thing called, heel turn? I don't follow wrestling. I've just watched some content creators who did, so I picked up a few words. But, that she's going to be something of an antagonist because of, aforementioned. Anyway, I think that does... Let's see. There's at least one more thing that I wanted to... What was the... turns out Nico was listening in, heard enough, but does also agree. And once they're on board. We don't even need to see Chase and Molly be convinced. And yeah, like it genuinely added a layer to the climax of this episode, almost at the season, because it's still surreal to me that this is not the season finale. There's like 2 episodes left, but whatever. It is about once per season so far that they go to the hole and something dramatic happens. Like all of them, I mean, at once. Anyway, I feel like there's at least one thing that I really wanted to say to the yeah, the idea that they're trying to, prevent anything bad from happening to the actual aliens on the ship, when that wasn't really, like, they've done enough legwork that when Carolina says it, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I wasn't at all thinking like why would she care about them, or why she would need to convince the others, because they didn't go to the ship and feel the connection. I think that's when they decide that they want to bring in Jeffrey. Or is this when... Oh, actually, this might be when Leslie and Frank end up... yeah, it was great. We see Gibborim, have a blessed day, go with God, and then they hand over assault rifles and handguns, and it's like, yeah, see, that's scarily accurate to certain segments of the American far right. That combination, pretending to be this like enlightened Christian, but also, seeking violence, which, like, don't think you remember stories of Jesus that well. Anyway, yeah, I think so yeah, they talk to Jeffrey, and yeah, the point about, they have a common enemy, and Jeffrey knows when the what at what time Jonah will be there, and I think that was also a compelling dynamic there. I wasn't sure exactly what they would do with Jeffrey, in the same place as the Runaways. I really appreciate that they did take care to avoid him knowing where the hideout is. Right, I also appreciated the line about, well, you seem to have adjusted well to Chase moving out. I'm glad it appears that way, And let's see, she doesn't want too many of the others to realize how upset she is, especially Chase, but, she does trust Carolina enough to tell her. Because, like, remember, she's had her meds now. She got her meds. This is not still the really jumpy, in the throes of her anxiety, Gert, that we've seen in recent episodes. I think that does bring us to the, let's see. Yeah, the next thing I believe... Oh, right, I like the discussion about, when did you learn hacking, and, he explains about, well, How to Train Your Dragon 2 lasted for me for 5 minutes, and then, took a course in hacking. And yeah, also this the distinction between, Jeffrey talks about some of the things he knows Alex has done recently, like grabbing the hacking computer, and he points out that it's very risky. And you have this distinction between, like, youthful enthusiasm and, the older generation being, having had more life experience, and thus, because both of them have done risky things, and, on some level, Jeffrey's worried that Alex will have to end up paying for them the same as he himself did for a while. And I think that does bring us to... I feel like there's at least one more thing before the actual climax. It was great seeing the various Pride members ready stuff. Marshall Flinkman still dealing with spy gadgets of a, you know, yeah, that don't quite exist in the real world of that nature. Actually, I guess that does bring us to the... Oh, right, and it was great the part where... I didn't catch his name, but I don't think he gave it. Destiny's brother. Yeah, it does sound like he wants an autograph. And let's see. Yeah, and later, he confronts Frank and points it all out. And I do appreciate this thing that's, yeah, people have realized that that's happening, but no one listens to the people who realized. And as such, now one of them puts a gun at someone that, he considers responsible. And Frank points out, I only found out about this myself recently and have since been trying to put a stop to it. And that's, of course, the problem with, proximity to evil. It's difficult to be that, for many people, to be that close to evil and, not appear to be working with it, and sometimes even to work with it or at least make excuses. Yeah, I think that does bring us to the part with they go to the actual to the site, and we have the discussion, and they point out they want Gert to stay behind, and didn't bring old Lace because can they completely depend on the budget to make room for effects for her, considering all the stuff that they're for sure going to do, and also the mental state thing. But yeah, I really love Gert is like, so you want me to stay behind knowing that there could be armed guards at any time, and you just want me to let you know. And like, I was sitting there riffing, so you understand, great. But then she actually does say, I understand, great. So that was fun. And I mean, at the end of the day, she is one of the less like physically confrontational compared to the rest of the Runaways. And I think that does... Let's see. So yeah, that's when... Yeah, I did find it slightly frustrating when Leslie, like, she's basically taunting Jonah, and like, of course they're gonna realize that. I don't know. I wouldn't have hated if that had been written a little different, to where he tricked her into saying it. Like, maybe he says something that makes it sound like he now hates Carolina for not showing up or something, and then Leslie stands up to defend her flesh and blood, and then like, oh crap, I accidentally gave away to Jonah the truth about Carolina. The fact that she's there, that she lied on purpose. But hypothetically, if Jonah was talking about like, you can never depend on her, she's never where she says she will be, when she says, because I feel like that would, to Jan, that would be like, wait, Leslie, sorry, have I been mixing up their names again? Anyway, to Carolina's mom, that would be like, how dare you? She's like perfect, And but yeah, I do appreciate they obviously do need Jonah to arrive, and for that to be a surprise for the Runaways. Otherwise, the climax doesn't completely work. You need that bit of, what's it called, the that extra element of tension and suspense. Right. It was also great when, so Jeffrey's trying to get into the dig site, and the guy's like, not allowed to let anyone through, even the scientist couple. I got in trouble for that. And then, Jeffrey grabs the guy's gun, and there's another armed guard there, but Alex was close enough by, which, very nicely done. We weren't sure how close Alex was. And I guess that does pretty much cover. I feel like there's at least one thing. Right, and the thing with like how many guards are there, and then smash cut, and they took care of the guards. Very nicely done. And yeah, Carolina gets several of them down into the hole. Oh, right. Also love the use of I want to say Billie Eilish. I'm guessing it's called "You Should See Me in a Crown" or something like that, because that's part of the chorus. Not my absolute favorite use of it in a Marvel thing, but it was great, and I can't really give spoilers for, because yeah, that thing came out after, and I decided not to talk about things that came out after this in this video. Anyway, the I guess that does pretty much bring us to the let's see. Oh, right. I also really appreciate. Yeah, so we very much in this episode are seeing. Now I remember. That was the thing I wanted to say. We're very much seeing the fallout of Carolina finally telling Nico the truth. And I do appreciate she only recently learned that Jonah killed Amy. She did not keep that a secret for very long. It was meeting with Jonah that she kept the secret for a while. But yeah, and I'm guessing the next episode we're gonna see the fallout, because the fallout culminates in Nico killing Jonah when she could have just put him to sleep and then had a discussion with Carolina if she was comfortable with patricide. But yeah, before there's even, Nico says, there's aliens down there. And the others, of course, ask, how do you know that? And I do appreciate that Nico does let Carolina say that that's, but she did also want the others to hear that that was the case, so yeah, I think there's at least one more thing, but what was it? No, yeah, I think that does bring us to the climax, but yeah, bringing them down there, and Shay's saying it's like an elevator but with no elevator. And I forget who, but one of them is like, that's a fascinating comparison, or just what an astute observation, something along those lines, And the thing with at least Carolina's awesome at flying, which is a sweet thing to say to your fiance. It's wow, I just fast tracked the relationship. Sorry, partner, obviously. I mean, and the yeah, like I aspire to one day be able to say that. Yeah. Anyway, the I don't know. I guess hypothetically, if you're with a pilot, you could say that. But then, she says, this isn't really flying, it's folding with style, which, yeah, even before Molly caught it, I understood that reference. But then, Molly's like, oh, Buzz Lightyear, I love Buzz. You and many, many people your age. And, upwards of 20 years older, frankly. And I think that does... Right, also really appreciated that, so let's see. Right now I forget what it was that... No, yeah, I think it was, oh, there's aliens down there. That's so cool. And then she finds out Carolina has been seeing Jonah, and she's like, you better talk fast because I'm getting pissed off, So, yeah, like, clear distinction. She's not happy about absolutely everything. Just, things that are really cool. And yeah, they trusted that the Fistigons would be able to do it, and it doesn't really completely work. The ship keeps healing itself. And yeah, with Jonah, you have the thing of like, well, it will actually kill, and yeah, he reveals, as had been theorized on and off the show, that, yeah, people will die when the ship leaves, if it had. and he does want Carolina on the ship. Which is also an interesting, because earlier in the episode there was the thing about what makes you think he doesn't want you on the ship. I don't know. He hasn't said that he did, so you take his word for it, is what you're saying, you know. And by the end of the episode, she witnesses him die at the hands of Nico. And yeah, so let's see. There's the thing. Yeah, we have the. Yeah, I mean, I think that might be one of the right. Yeah, that's the so we have the thing about them deciding who's gonna, you know, fall with style upwards, and you know, it ends up being Nico stays down there. So cool when she makes, you know, and we got the Wicked Witch reference, and yeah, like what an entrance! Really striking image as she emerges from this like tornado, hurricane. I'm not good at the distinction. And yeah, you know, she tries to, you know, she says stop the ship, and then, you know, collapses, and Tina grabs it and goes stop the ship, and Nico wakes up for a second just to say that's what I said. I could have done that, but yeah, you know, of course, there's too much power surging through, you know, for Halen, and you know, I think it's Robert who notes the staff only works for Nico now, and the let's see, the scientist couple fire the thing at the ship to kill the aliens, and Jonah, you know, blasts with the force to get them all. Yeah, really, really nicely done. And yeah, the thing about, you know, when Victor talks to, did I accidentally call him Robert earlier in the video? You know what? I think from now on I'm just gonna stick to referring to them by their kids' names, because I mostly remember the kids' names. But the yeah, you know, he's like, it was such a sweet message from the future. I mean, I know you haven't said it yet, but be ready on my signal. You know, that worked well, because like, yeah, to everyone there, it's like, well, of course he wants to, you know, I mean, I forget if they even know about the message from the future, but it's like, you know, as Chase points out, not the weirdest thing I've heard today, you know, and yeah, it's like, of course he wants to hug his kid, like he's, yeah. And I think that does. Yeah, so you know, he fires the Fistigons at Jonah, who of course is able to, you know, it doesn't like do grievous bodily harm, but you know, when he fires back, Carolina steps in to prevent, you know, that, which once again, you know, she's really gotten her powers under control by now. In the first season, she did something similar, and it didn't work out quite as well. Yeah, this was a really fantastic climax. I'm really not sure how they're going to top it for the end of, you know, 2 episodes from now, but the actual finale. But even if not, that is a really cool way to resolve the because like technically Carolina's still an alien. I wouldn't rule out that she's gonna become a major threat, because I don't even know how the rest of them would stop her. Like, they weren't able to stop the aliens before now, and certainly not without the help of Carolina. I guess Robert might still have that thing that he made that harms the aliens. I guess that could be used to subdue her, but it's definitely going to be emotionally charged, dramatic. And yeah, you know, Nico didn't even hesitate, and great use of flashbacks, and the bit where, you know, she finds Amy and is screaming, and then cut to present day Nico, like it, you know, internally screaming. And yeah, you know, she gets the poison onto the thing, and leaps, stabs him with the end of the staff, and it works. And I noticed his accent changed, so I wonder if maybe did was Jonah just like an alien that had taken over a body that he like I wouldn't rule out that that's the case, that there is an actual person there that is now, yeah. Anyway, I think that does, yeah. And right after the parents ask to be you know reunited, and he could go sleep. And as they're collapsing, they go, well, just think about it, you know where we live. And yeah, really, really dramatic when Carolina points out, why not attempt to put Jonah to sleep? Why did you just kill him and take away the only alien family she had left? And yeah. Oh, I also really like the thing with hacking the cars to bring them to the completely wrong place, and one of them's like, oh, it's God, Jesus took the wheel. That was pretty funny. And the yeah, the thing, it's very much a work smarter not harder, because like you really want to deal with that many armed guards. And to catch a pressure luck, Charles, I don't think Nico can stop them all. Yeah, sorry, it's gonna keep happening. I'm gonna keep referencing X-Men 1 and 2 for a while now. Anyway, I think, does that bring us to the yeah, what was the other thing? There was definitely one other thing that I wanted to mention here, but what was it? Yeah, very intense when so obviously Frank didn't want Destiny's brother dead. He's trying to get out of killing you know, Runaways. And but yeah, when there is a gun involved, someone is more likely to get shot than the more guns, the greater risk of yeah. I think that does cover. I swear there's at least one more thing. And yeah, there's a couple of interesting things there. Like, one is, I don't know how he's gonna get rid of that body, much less like make it look like it wasn't what it was. And also, like, this is definitely gonna gnaw at him, because he was specifically trying to be a better person. He's been working really hard at that for a while now. I think that maybe brings us to the I also felt like they did a good job with the CG. I think part of what works is that it was partially obscured, because we get a couple of elements. One is that it's so dark, so we don't get a really super good look at it well lit, which would not hold up for. There's the I actually don't know exactly how to describe it, but not the whole thing is super visible. Yeah, there's some stuff partially covering it, and that enables them to put more of the very talented, clearly, effects team to have them spend more time and resources on the most important visual effect of, or the couple of most important visual effects of the episode: Nico flying up, and the way that I'm not the only person who noticed. They do kind of ascend. They don't just like all disappear. There is this sense of them like flying upwards, the alien spirits. And I don't know if that means that they're going to come back, because the last thing Jonah says is, now we'll have to take it all. So I guess that means that it's going to be a ground invasion instead of a, you know, they were willing to destroy the Earth to get the aliens out, but now they might take it. Nice planet. Think we'll take it.